$60 to $100 is where people expect something to change. When you pay that much, you want more age, more depth, more proof, and more complexity.
But the reality is, most of the time, it doesn't happen. You end up paying for a fancy bottle or a marketing story or a secondary finish that just covers up average whiskey.
But sometimes a bottle absolutely earns that price tag. Today, we're cutting through the noise. We're talking about bottles in the $60 to $100 range that absolutely justify the money. No excuses, no shelf trophies.
Just whiskey that shows up in the glass. So stay tuned right here
In the lounge with Stave and Sly. Let's start with the gold standard for this category. A bottle that I think is the perfect answer to the question, what should I treat myself when I want to get a nice bottle of whiskey? And I think that's Elijah Craig Barrel Proof.
Yeah, this is exactly what stepping up in price is supposed to be. It's an uncut, unfiltered, and like completely unapologetic. You get this dark chocolate, like oak, caramel, baking spice, all the traditional flavor notes that you kind of associate with a good bourbon come through nicely with this bottle. And it's a massive Heaven Hill backbone.
I agree. This is not a casual, easy sipping pour. I know when Barrel Proof came out with their first iteration, it was a little too heavy hitting. But their barrel proofs since have been really on point and really fantastic. This is a sit down and pay attention whiskey, and that's why it works. It's because when you spend this kind of money, you should know exactly where it went, and that's full flavor, just straight from the barrel, and knowing where that money went.
Yeah, and I think Heaven Hill tells you where it went. They use their classic 78% corn, 10% rye mash bill, and it carries the hefty 12-year age statement. Mm-hmm. So it's bottled at cask strength, which can be anywhere from typically low 120s to mid 130s, I think. But it's high proof, it's full flavor, zero compromise. It's a benchmark for a reason.
For sure. Next up, a bottle that is consistently highly ranked. It's high quality. It's one of the most consistent single barrels on the market. We love it. It's fantastic, and that's Russell's Reserve Single Barrel.
Yeah, if you want a wild turkey with absolute precision, this is the bottle to get. Yeah. You get the classic turkey profile, the oaks and vanilla and the baking spice, like I said. And of course, what I think is even a little more prominent with this bottle is that traditional or typical wild turkey funk. Mm-hmm. But it feels it's not random. It feels dialed in. It feels intentional.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think the single barrels vary from barrel to barrel, but all of these are consistently delicious. And it uses their traditional 75% corn, 13% rye mash bill. They bottle it at I think a perfect 110 proof. Yeah. They leave it at that non-chill, it's non-chill filtered, right? Which means that the fatty acids, the oils, all that are still in the whiskey, giving it that amazing texture and mouthfeel.
Yeah, it's one of those bottles that serious bourbon drinkers just kind of, when you see it on the shelf, you just nod.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah, because it doesn't need a gimmick or a fancy story. It's just fantastic bourbon made with absolute confidence, and of course that confidence comes from 50, 60, to however many years that Jimmy Russell's been.
Yeah, they've been doing it for a long time.
Been doing it, but because it's a single barrel. Each one is kind of a unique snapshot of that Russell distillery experience.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of that confidence, let's look at Knob Creek 12-year. We love the Knob Creek. We've talked about the 9-year single barrel. Knob Creek, they put out some great stuff. You start getting into the 15, the 18. Those are fantastic as well. But I really think the 12-year, which is what I have in my glass, is like the sweet spot. That's where they get it right. To me, that's age done perfectly.
Yeah, it really is. It's easy for older bourbon to get over oaked. I've said before, typically anything older than 15 years is beyond my palate preference.
It certainly can.
It usually is just too much.
Be a little too much.
Yeah, it gets bitter. It gets tannic. It can taste like you're chewing on a barrel steak.
Right.
Yeah. But I don't think this ever gets close to that.
No, it's so nice. It gives you that beautiful mature oak, but it holds on to that sweetness, and you get that classic bean profile where you're getting that peanut brittly, that dark caramel. It's you know that deep oak. It's classic bean profile, but it's just elevated and refined by that extra time in the barrel, right? It's bottled at 100 proof, and that proves that when it's done right, the distillery can just deliver legitimate age with real structure, and I think it's worth every penny.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm typically, well, we'll leave that for another conversation. So let's shift gears to finished bourbons.
Okay.
It's a whole magical category all of itself,
yes.
But it can get tricky in this price range. So let's talk about Rabbit Hole Derringer.
Oh, it's so good. You're right that finishing is risky because a lot of times it feels like a distillery is just using a cask finish as like makeup to cover up a bourbon that maybe wasn't all that interesting to begin with, right? But with Derringer, I think they nailed it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's their wheated mash bill, so it's a 68% corn, 20% wheat. And then it's finished in Pedro Jimenez or PX sherry casks from Spain. Those PX casks are really well known for their like rich, syrupy, dessert-like tasting, flavor notes. And they really shine in this bottle.
Yeah, I love sherry cask finish, and you taste that immediately. You get that dried fruit, that fig, like some of that raisin molasses, but it doesn't lose the bourbon underneath, and it still has that character, right? The PX sherry, I think it adds that layer of complexity instead of just taking over. They bottle that Derringer at 93 proof. I think it's a masterclass in how to balance a secondary cask.
Right, because like we said, it all too often some of these distilleries will use a secondary finish to just mask mid or even low quality bourbon.
For sure.
Makeup on a pig.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that lipstick on a pig. You can't try to polish that turd.
Okay, so here's one that deserves way more attention. It's Jeff the Creed 6-year wheated straight bourbon. So wheated bourbon gets so much hype, but it's always like the same 3 or 4 names that you hear all the time. This gives you something completely different and frankly, I think more interesting.
I agree. Yeah, so we've talked about Jeff the Creed before. We've written about him. It's a great operation that they run down there in Shelbyville, mother-daughter. That they're doing on their family farm. It's fantastic. The Jeff the Creed, it's soft, it's sweet, but it's got real structure. Yeah. And the secret here is that they grow their own Bloody Butcher corn on that farm down there in Shelbyville, Kentucky. It's an heirloom varietal that is incredibly difficult to grow to scale.
Yeah, the red corn combined with the malted wheat gives it like this kind of earthy sweet profile. You get maybe some dark cherry notes, maybe it's a little bit of vanilla, but whatever you're getting off of it, you don't get it from just your standard yellow sweet corn. Yep. It's genuinely unique. It's bottled at 90 proof, and it's a wheated bourbon that actually brings something new and authentic to the table.
I agree. So finally, let's talk about a rye that drinks like a bourbon. So we're talking about Pursuit United Double Oaked Rye, and they're doing something different in this space and in this price range, and that can be risky. It's either incredibly interesting or it can be just confused, but Pursuit United, I think they've got it nailed with their Double Oaked Rye.
It definitely works. It's a blended rye sourced from different distilleries, and then it's finished in a secondary custom toasted oak barrel. You get this kind of great rye spice up front that you would expect, followed by some like baking spice, pepper, of course. Some herbal notes are mixed in there. But that double oak process brings this kind of wave of kind of toasty sweet oak on the finish that's I don't know, almost like like chocolate and rich caramel.
Yeah, for sure. It's nice. It really rounds off those sharp edges without killing that rye bite. But it can make it more approachable to folks that may not be rye fans because of that double barreling. And it's really fantastic. Bottled at 108 proof. It's a testament that blending and that double oaking can create something that is, I think it's much greater than the sum of its parts.
Yeah, I totally agree. We say this probably more than we need to, but we just really enjoy double oak.
We love double oak.
Yeah. All right, so let's wrap this up with some more rapid fire premium picks from the bottles that we just covered.
Yep.
Same kind of thing we did before. If you want pure uncut power,
I'm going to do the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof.
okay.
I think it's without a doubt, it just gives you such a good punch in the face there. What if you're looking for the best dessert pour?
Dessert pour, Rabbit Hole Derringer.
Yeah, it's
the sherry cask. It's just incredible. It doesn't mask anything. It enhances the bourbon like it should.
100%.
It brings a nice sweetness and a great way to wrap up your dinner.
Yeah.
If you just want classic, flawless maturity,
I'd have to say the Knob Creek 12-year. It's in my glass for a reason because it's delicious, and I think it's the gold standard for aged Jim Beam.
See that? So this premium shelf is where people usually get burned. The bottles we talked about today prove that the value is still there if you know what you're looking for.
For sure. And next up, we're going to go in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Opposite direction. We're going to call out the expensive bottles that we think do not earn their price tag. We're going to name names on our list of the most overrated bourbons on the market.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to that one, but sometimes maybe not.
Hey, call them out.
So before we go, just a reminder again from both of us that good whiskey is about the experience and not the volume.
Take your time, respect the proof, and sip responsibly.
Cheers from Stave and Slide.